Welcome to the Third Win channel. Today we're doing Season 2 episodes tier list of Zoey 101. We did, around a week ago, we did Season 1, so I would recommend you check that out first. And this series comes after a series that you guys seem to like, the iCarly one, so you can definitely go check that out as well. I know that iCarly is quite popular on this channel. But without further ado, let's get into Zoey 101 Season 2. First off, here we got our tier list, and here are my tiers. You guys can read it yourselves, but basically, yeah, we're putting these episodes into tiers, and let's get into our very first episode, which is Back to PCA. Excuse the bad image quality on some of these, but you can kind of tell, because I'll be talking about the episode. But Back to PCA, we see the gang come back to PCA. Dana is out of the group because she got sent to some European exchange program, and Lola is in. And that's most of the plot of this episode. We see Lola, who's an actress or an aspiring actress, pretend to be a crazy girl, which scares Zoey and Nicole, which are her new roommates. And then they find out that it's all a trick, and she's trying to test her acting skills on them, and she turns out to be an amazing friend to them. What else happens in this episode? Logan gets a huge entertainment center in Chase, Michael, and Logan's room, but that ends up being a bit of a headache for Chase and Michael because they can't sleep and there's so many people in the room, blah blah blah. But it's a good episode. I mean, I have to put it down as at least iconic, I think, just for the appearance of Lola and the disappearance of Dana. But moving on to episode 2, we got Time Capsule, which this episode, let me talk about it. This episode spawned a lot of stuff. It's a very memorable episode of Zoey 101. But basically, Zoey comes up with the idea of making a time capsule, which will be opened 20 years later. So everyone has to put something in the time capsule as a school project. And everyone has their own solution to this. Logan puts in a picture of himself, of course. But Zoey, she makes a video talking about the school, her friends, what she thinks of the people around her. And when Chase gets to know this and he knows that she mentions him, he goes crazy. He needs to know what she says because obviously Chase has a huge crush on Zoey. So he literally digs up the time capsule, with Michael's help, gets the CD, watches half the video, and when she gets to him, she closes the laptop. Michael notices this too, and he smiles. But yes, that means that he has to go put the CD back in the time capsule, blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, I mean, Chase, the ending of the episode is Chase waking up by the time capsule. And Zoey meets him there, and she agrees to tell him in 10 years. So that's really interesting. But what happened afterwards is, like, 10 years later, I think, yeah, Michael went to PCA. This is something that they uploaded on YouTube as, like, a reunion kind of spoof. Michael goes to the time capsule and finds out what Zoey says in the middle of Chase engagement with some other woman. Well, you have to kind of see this yourself. If you know, you know. But this episode is just too iconic. Gosh, I love this episode. It's definitely iconic. I think that this is one that people remember. Moving on, we got Election, which is basically the student body election between. It ends up being between Chase and Zoey. And they agreed to not have it get into their friendship's way, but it seems like Chase is doing better, but Chase ends up not wanting to win against Zoey. He, just for many reasons, and he makes a video kind of slandering himself, making him seem like the worst candidate. And when Zoey finds out about this, she pulls out, and the only other candidate running is Mark Del Figolo, so he becomes the president, which is very funny, which makes it one of my favorite episodes. It's a really good moment, and I like the stuff between Chase and Zoey in this episode. In most episodes where there's something going on between Chase and Zoey, you'll see that I like them a lot. Moving on, we got Haunted House, which is an episode where Logan wants to scare little kids with a scary haunted house because that's tradition at PCA to create that the upper school kids create a haunted house for the lower school kids, but Logan actually wants to make it scary. But what's funny is that Zoey and Chase and her younger brother work together to scare Logan with disappearing children, and Logan gets spoofed when his name gets called because he thinks he's next to disappear. And yeah, they humiliate Logan, and it's really funny, but to me, this is a slightly forgettable episode. I think it's okay. I like the Halloween themed ones, but it just doesn't have enough character stuff for me. It's a little just like, haha. Next, we got episode 5, Bad Girl, which stars Jeanette McCurdy, which is one where Dustin, I can't really remember how, but he gets her as his girlfriend, maybe by being smart in chemistry or something like that. But it ends up with her, being awful to him. And Zoe, being so protective, doesn't like this, so she asks Chase to sort it out. And our bad girl here, forget her name, takes this as Chase hitting on her. So then she thinks that he's her boyfriend, and it's all very complicated. But it ends up with, of course, her understanding that neither of them really want to be with her, and I don't really know what the point of this episode was, but yeah, it's okay. It's not great. Moving on, we got episode 6 with broadcast views. I think I like the narrative more than the episode. I think I like the whole arguing between boy and girl here and the two different views. And we always needed this episode where we'd see Logan's views kind of contrast to Zoe's views. And I like how I think it's realistic that people really liked watching it, that it was something that people wanted to watch. And yes, TV even noticed this, and they got their own TV show. But long story short, Zoe got stood up for Chase and Michael, whose this show was originally, and she said, oh god, this is complicated. So Dean Rivers basically banned the show because of the views, and then she stood up for Chase and said, this is censorship, so to bring his show back, and the TV show got canceled. And yeah, it's a bit complicated, but it's a good episode. It's all a little all over the place. It's difficult to explain. But next we got Girls Will Be Boys, which is, the premise is basically the girls want to have access to the boys' rooftop, but the guys say that this is like our area and we act differently when there are girls around, so yeah, don't do this. And then the girls try to convince the guys that they can be normal around girls, which their way of doing it is to basically make a girl look like a guy and go in undercover, which you could argue isn't really proving anything. But yes, they are successful in the end because they don't notice Lola is the guy somehow. And yeah, it's an okay episode. It's pretty good. I think it's fun more than smart. But moving on, we had episode 8, Robot Wars, which is inspired off of I think what is this show called in the US? Bot battles, robot. I can't remember what it's called, but it's an entertaining show, and I see why they want to do a robot war. But this is basically the gang versus the nerds at the school, and Zoe and the gang hire the smartest kid at school, but they lose the competition. But then the nerds get disqualified for their own rule of a robot being too high up, like the height being too high. So they have a rematch, and then they get Quinn's help. And Quinn doesn't help him in the first place because Logan insults her on her nerdiness. So yeah, Quinn beats the nerds easy peasy because she literally makes weapons of destruction. But it's a great episode. I think it's really entertaining. It didn't have to be, it's just really entertaining. So you can either go with the plot and have the characters stand out, or you can go with having it be very entertaining. And in this case, great episode, very entertaining. Next, we got Lola Likes Chase, which is one of my favorite episodes, I think. Definitely, at least of the season. I just like the fact that, like, I always thought that Chase is like a great guy. He's my favorite character in the show, and the fact that like Lola sees this as well, and then learns about Chase and learns that he's into. I can't remember if she like indirectly learns that he's into Zoe, but she understands, and I think it's really cool, that relationship between them two, like her respect for Chase. And what else happens in this episode? Oh yeah, I can't forget this. Logan teaches Dustin to be more like him, which is hilarious because it doesn't really work out for Dustin, but it obviously works for Logan. So, because we see him with a lot of girls, but yeah, it's a really good episode. S tier. I think it's might be the best. Top, definitely like top. Oh man, this season has a lot of S tiers actually. Moving on, we have episode 10. That was 9. Yeah, this is 10. So spring breakup. And this episode, things really heat up between Zoe and Chase. At least on Chase's side, like he's ready to confess basically, but long story short, or maybe I should say a little bit about it. Logan hosts this big party at his house, and surprise, surprise, his rich dad is hosting a TV show called Gender Wars, I think, where it's girls versus boys on some tasks. And Chase accidentally they're all given tech mates, by the way, by Logan's rich dad, which are basically like these little pagers where they can text each other and work together as a team. But Chase accidentally sends Zoey something he didn't want her to see, and during the competition, he's trying to, he basically steals her tech mate and deletes the message, but Zoey finds out, and filled with grief, Chase lets the girls win for various reasons, also because he's against Zoey and he feels bad beating her. But at the very end of the episode, I mean, throughout this episode, their friendship is strained, Chase and Zoe's. So in the end, there's a confrontation, and Chase is about to tell her what he said in the message. But then the episode Gender Wars comes on. He sends a text message, which you see on screen right now. But she never sees it because her tech mate was left at the pond or the fountain, and it falls in. And gosh, genius writing, I have to say. They're really the way the show like kept hinting towards, oh, she's gonna find out, and it doesn't happen till the very end is beautiful. I love it. Ooh, that shouldn't happen. But basically, yeah, it's an iconic episode, one of my favorites. You also know what I think about episode 12 now. But moving on, episode 11, People's Auction, is one where Sushi Rocks burns down because of Chase, I believe, and they host this People's Auction where people auction to like have someone with them for a whole day. It's a bit weird, but yeah, it is a thing. And Logan wins the auction for the girls, and he wants them to be cheerleaders for him all day. And the gym coach gets Chase and Michael, and he loves his sushi. That's how he pronounces it, sushi. So he gets them to make him sushi because he now no longer has Sushi Rocks. But this episode is really funny. I think it's entertaining. I got some iconic moments. Definitely a favorite for me. And we have so many S tiers. I literally had to do this. You see, I had to expand the screen. A lot of S tiers. But moving on, you already saw where I put this episode, so I might as well go to the next page. I put it in great. Well, that's not true. See, there's a mistake. I think this episode should be in good. And the reason I think this episode should be in good is because for season finale, it's not so good. Like, it's all about Quinn missing her alpaca, and basically they bring it. She escapes the school, which is not like would get her expelled because she has to get permission from her parents. But what they do is they bring her back and they bring the alpaca to the school, and that's really most of the episode. The only other thing that really happens, which takes up a lot of screen time, is the guys having a competition. Who's the one who can go without saying the letter S the longest, and it ends up being Chase and Logan who win, and Michael has to go around at the beginning. But that's the episode. I mean, if I had to change this right now, it would go in good, because as a season finale, it's just not quite there. I do think the S thing was quite funny. The Quinn Alpaca storyline, it got boring pretty fast. But yeah, that's my tier list. I just want to say that I make a lot of Nickelodeon content, so make sure to check it out if you like this kind of video. I'm also doing iCarly reviews for the new series, and you subscribe if you like that. There's a new one coming tomorrow, I believe, so I'll be making one for the new episode 4. But basically, we make a lot of this content. If you like this kind of video, if you want to see season 3 episode tier list, subscribe because it's coming. But yeah, that's been the Third Win channel, and I'd like to thank everyone here for watching. And that's me for today, and I'll see you guys soon.